In the dense woods surrounding Mitchell Creek, locals speak in hushed tones of a chilling legend that has haunted the area for generations. Stay connected with Links 123. Like, subscribe, and join our community. Decades ago, a young woman named Eliza lived near Mitchell Creek. She was known for her kind heart and often cared for the children in the community. One stormy night, while crossing a rickety wooden bridge over the creek with her infant son, the swollen waters surged, causing the bridge to collapse. Eliza's body was found downstream the next day, but her child was never recovered. Since that tragic night, eerie occurrences have been reported near the remnants of the old bridge. On fog-laden evenings, passers-by claim to hear the faint cries of a baby mingled with the mournful whispers of a woman calling out for her lost child. Some have even seen a spectral figure, drenched and desperate, wandering the creek's edge, searching endlessly. Local folklore has dubbed the site Crybaby Bridge, aligning with similar legends found throughout Indiana. These tales often involve the haunting cries of infants and the tragic stories of their untimely deaths near bridges. Despite the passage of time, the legend of Eliza and her lost child endures, casting a somber shadow over Mitchell Creek. Those who venture near the creek after dusk are cautioned to tread carefully, lest they encounter the restless spirits that linger, bound by a tragedy that time cannot erase. The Haunting of Mitchell Creek, a tale of Crawford County, Indiana. In the small, sleepy town near Mitchell Creek in Crawford County, Indiana, a chilling tale of tragedy and lingering spirits is whispered among the locals. It's a story so deeply woven into the fabric of the area that even skeptics avoid the woods after dark. The Legend of Eliza and the Crybaby Bridge. Eliza May Thornton lived in a small, weather-beaten cabin near Mitchell Creek in the late 1800s. She was known for her striking beauty, fiery red hair, and a voice that could calm even the most restless soul. But it was her infant son, Daniel, who was her world. One stormy night, the creek overflowed its banks after a relentless downpour. The bridge connecting her home to the town was weak, but Eliza had no choice but to cross. Daniel had fallen ill, and the town doctor was her only hope. As she stepped onto the creaking wooden planks, lightning illuminated the roaring waters below. Halfway across, the bridge collapsed, plunging Eliza and Daniel into the frigid torrent. Eliza's body was discovered downstream the next day, but Daniel was never found. In the years that followed, strange things began to happen. Locals reported hearing a woman's anguished cries near the creek on stormy nights. Others swore they heard the faint wails of a baby echoing through the woods. The bridge, now called Crybaby Bridge, became a site of eerie fascination. A new chapter. By the early 2000s, the area around Mitchell Creek had grown quieter. Most of the old families moved away, leaving behind empty cabins and overgrown trails. But one family, the Reynolds, had recently purchased a plot of land near the creek. The Reynolds were city folk, eager to escape their urban lives. They were unaware of the local lore when they moved into their new home in late autumn. It was a quaint log house nestled in the woods, only a mile from Crybaby Bridge. Emily Reynolds, their teenage daughter, was the first to notice something strange. The first night. Emily had always been a night owl, often staying up late to sketch by her bedroom window. On their first night, as the rest of her family slept, she sat by the window, the full moon casting silver light across the forest. A sudden movement caught her eye. She leaned closer and saw a figure standing near the creek, a woman, pale and drenched, cradling something in her arms. Emily blinked. The figure vanished. The next morning, she mentioned it to her parents, but they brushed it off as her imagination. The crying. A few weeks later, Emily was home alone. It was another stormy night, the rain lashing against the windows. She was finishing a sketch when she heard it, a faint, high-pitched cry. It sounded like a baby. Heart pounding, she ran to the living room. The cries grew louder, seeming to come from outside. Gathering her courage, She grabbed a flashlight and stepped onto the porch. "Hello," she called into the darkness. The cries stopped. A town elder's warning. Emily couldn't shake the encounter. She began asking around town about the area's history. At the local diner, she met Mr. Henry Walker, an 85-year-old lifelong resident. When she mentioned the crying, Henry's face turned ashen. "You saw her, didn't you?" he whispered. "Who?" Emily asked. "Eliza Thornton. She's been wandering those woods for over a century, looking for her baby. Folks say the cries draw you in. Some who've gone searching never come back." The search. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She decided to investigate Crybaby Bridge herself. Armed with her flashlight and phone, she made her way through the woods. The creek was swollen from recent rains, its surface shimmering under the moonlight. The remains of the old bridge were still visible, splintered beams jutting from the water like skeletal fingers. As she stood there, the crying began again, faint at first, then louder. Emily's heart raced as she followed the sound, moving closer to the water's edge. "Daniel," a woman's voice called. Emily turned and froze. Standing on the far side of the creek was the same woman she had seen before, soaking wet, her eyes hollow, her arms empty. "Eliza," Emily whispered. The ghostly figure nodded, tears streaming down her translucent cheeks. She pointed toward the creek. The truth revealed. Summoning her courage, Emily waded into the icy water. Something caught her foot, a small, rusted tin box. Inside was a tiny baby blanket, faded but intact. When she turned back, Eliza was gone. But the air felt lighter, as if the weight of her sorrow had lifted. A quiet ending. Emily and her family moved away the following spring, but she often thought about that night. The crying at Mitchell Creek stopped, and the woods seemed less foreboding. To this day, the story of Eliza and Crybaby Bridge remains a cautionary tale, a reminder of love, loss, and the restless spirits that linger in the quiet corners of Indiana. Stay connected with Links 123. Like, subscribe, and join our community.